Hi, this is Steve Clifford. I'm on spot today with IDC's Pete Lindstrom and Mike Versace to take a look at what's going on with data breaches. Seems like we're getting news every day of a new data breach. So wanted to get your perspectives. First off, is the hype around data breach right now justified?
My feeling is breach is sort of the new norm. In reality, these things come and go, and certainly since 2004, different types of privacy-related breaches where stolen information around Social Security numbers, credit card numbers, healthcare records, and the like have been lost, and we have to get used to understanding exactly the impact of these types of breaches and try to figure out how to deal with the complexities involved in the organizations that are assigned to protect our information.
Where do you see the CIO and CISO fitting in from an organizational standpoint as it relates to data breach response?
It's tricky stuff because we're taking a very technical kind of attack and trying to relate it to business-related losses. We're not great at that. The idea of intangible losses is a significant one, with the exception of financial services, where you can actually count dollars and cents. You have to make some assertions about, how much would the Sony movies that got leaked actually have made, and play games in that regard. And no one does that particularly well. The CIO has been married to business value for a while now and has done well. The CISO's turn is to try to figure out how to leverage their authority, how to understand the technology, but kind of roll it up into an understanding of the business value of the systems that are involved, and then try to protect it properly.
Yeah, and I think I agree again, of course, that's a migration really of the CISO role. And I've seen it in the best organizations, the CISO role sort of federated, but being led by expertise, thought leadership, and actually technology skills out of the line of business. And for every significant line of business in any enterprise to have a CISO responsibility, with that responsibility aggregated maybe at a policy level across the enterprise. But I do think that breaches and other challenges in the security market are really moving the CISO role closer to the business. It's the business that's going to be able to identify some of the unknowns that Pete just talked about, which is what is the true business impact of a breach or a failure, just a pure failure of some piece of IT.
And we're seeing a growth or an increase in the level of authority that CISOs are gaining in organizations too. We just completed a survey of about 270 chief information security officers, and one of the questions we asked was, how many levels are there between you and the chief executive officer? It turns out that about 15% of that 270, which we believe is a pretty decent sample, actually report directly to the CEO already, and another 50%, so 65% in total of all the senior security executives are at least either direct report or one level deep from the CEO, and that authority level matters a lot. We're in a lot of respects like dentists. Everyone understands the value of having great teeth, but no one really wants to go there and really wants to get involved. So it ties back to what Mike said about driving the business value. Make sure that you understand that you're a contributor to the organization and properly managing the risk.
But I think with that reporting responsibility also comes with the responsibility to have a new dialogue, have a new conversation with the CEO. It can't be about necessarily bits and bytes and firewalls and IDS systems and PCI. It's really got to be how security and security investments contribute to the way the business operates in light of this enhanced sort of breach environment that we live in today. So actually the dialogue for the CISO really has to change. The CISO has to be able to speak. It has to understand its its business as well as every line of business executive does, and talk about the way security contributes to that business. And by the way, I think this is not just a new dialogue for the CISO, but it's a new dialogue for the vendor community that serves the CISO. They have to sell to the business and not just solely to IT functions. They have to understand their business they're selling into, as well as they understand the features and the functions of the products they sell. So this shift requires a new dialogue, I think, between the CISO and the CIO or the CEO, as well as between the vendor ecosystem providers and the folks that they're selling to.
I think the role of the Chief Information Security Officer, folks have to start thinking of themselves as cybersecurity economists in a way, because there are trade-offs here that we have to deal with in terms of costs and benefits and risks and rewards, and helping the organization get their arms around it. You know, I'm a big fan of measurement, but the number of servers that have been patched or remain unpatched is just useless to someone that's speaking at the strategic enterprise level in an organization. But if you can roll that up into some notion of what the strength of your control environment, some notion of the value being driven by the technology to the organization, an understanding of the volume of activity, and kind of leaning towards this what Mike had indicated, the fact that we can't be completely secure, right? This level of tolerance associated with risk and uncertainty, but we can characterize it in a way that is useful and specific enough to be able to make further investment decisions. I think we're going to be better off that way.
I agree. And the last point is a little bit of a different point, and it's a question I always ask, and Pete would love to hear your perspective on it too, is that, you know, we're in this world, we're in this environment of continuous breach. And I know within the financial services industry, for example, we spend in our industry close to $30 billion a year, $30 billion a year in hardware, software, and services trying to secure our enterprises. If we doubled the amount that we spent today, if we just said ×2 and spent $60 billion, do you think we'd be twice as secure? I don't think so. And that means we have to drive change in many other ways. It's in strategy, it's in architecture, it's in the dialogue that we have with the CEOs, it's putting the CISOs closer to the business. I think those are the types of fundamental changes, along with the adoption of standards and moves within the industry in general. Those are the types of things that are going to make the environment more secure to operate in. I think it's a little bit about relationships, but it's a lot more about dialogue, and it's a lot more about education and the like.
Yeah, it was funny with the Sony breach. I was reading one article where they were, it seemed like they were maligning the Chief Information Security Officer from Sony when he suggested that he wasn't going to spend $10 million in order to protect $1 million worth of risk. And yet, that's exactly right. We don't want to overspend for this stuff. We want to be smarter to protect that $1 million, but we want to protect it with, you know, up to $1 million or maybe less than that in terms of risk as well. And this gets back to the tricky part of not really being able to quantify and characterize things to anyone's real satisfaction with these intangible assets.
All right. Well, I thank you very much, both, for your perspectives on the state of data breach and organizations' response today, and I look forward to keeping up to date with the ever-evolving security industry and in future discussions. So thank you very much for your time today.
It's important stuff. Thank you.
Thanks, Pete.